Hi, Journeyers. I'm Tony Carnes, your host for A Journey Through NYC Religions Television. I was down in Harlem the other day at around 119th Street, and I heard about something called Beth-Hark. Now, I'd heard of Beth-Hark for some time, and in fact, I discovered it's celebrating its 40th anniversary. Now, Beth-Hark is a very precious and particular ministry in Harlem. I think it goes back originally to something called Hark. We're with the founder today, Joseph Holland, and his wife, Jacquie Holland, to tell us a little bit about Hark and Beth-Hark. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Tony. It's great being here.
Tell us a little bit about Hark, and then it becomes Beth-Hark.
I have to go back to my time at Harvard Law School in the early 1980s, because it was there that God spoke to my heart. Even though I had a Wall Street corporate job waiting for me, He gave me Luke 12:48, to whom much is given, much is required. And He pressed on my heart. He says, you have been blessed. Now I want you to be a blessing to others. And it was out of that He called me to Harlem, to outreach to the community. And I established a nonprofit called Harlem's Ark of Freedom, HARK for short. We did Bible studies every week in our apartment. We did street outreach every week, feeding the hungry, helping the homeless. And it got to the point where, and this was the mid-1980s, crack epidemic was exploding.
Yes.
And we knew we needed to bring people off of the street and bring them into some place which was warm, which was supportive, which was uplifting. And one of my mentors during my early Harlem days, Reverend Ezra Williams of Bethel Gospel Assembly, I was sharing with him what my vision was. And he says, oh, we just took over an old school building. Used to be James Fenimore Cooper Jr. High School, and we're renovating it, and we can work together on this. You have the vision and the team, we have the space, let's come together. So it was Bethel Gospel Assembly, Beth, and it was HARK, Harlem's Ark of Freedom, HARK for short, that came together to establish the Beth-Hark Christian Counseling Center in 1985. And we're excited because we're celebrating our 40th anniversary.
Yes, this Friday, celebrating 40 years, a celebration. Can you tell us a little bit about this celebration, Jacquie? And how can people help?
Oh, it's going to be wonderful. It's going to be just a heartwarming, loving event where we celebrate the past, but also look forward to the 40 years in the future and growing with the community needs. Beth-Hark, as he stated, started with mainly homeless men, but now it's evolved to providing food pantry, soup kitchen, grief share, mental health counseling, and so many other services. And so we are open every single day of the week, which is unusual. And we have a small team of volunteers that have been dedicated to doing this work, and we see the need for it to expand in our community.
You mentioned grief share.
Yes.
That just caught my mind because I hadn't heard that before. I've heard of, giving mental health and things. Mm-hmm. What's grief share?
Yeah, especially after the pandemic, so many people lost loved ones, and you just had to figure out how to keep moving. And that grief builds up inside, and it builds, and it comes out in ways that are unhealthy and negative. So before you need full-on mental health services, if you deal with that grief properly in the beginning, and you have people who can walk you through that, you can come out on a healthier space with your loss than if you don't deal with that.
One thing that at the very beginning in the 1980s, that yes, Harlem was actually New York, not just Harlem, was pretty disrupted. The big crack dealers were affecting so many people's lives. And some of them were just at that time were being shuffled off to prison, but it was the genie was unleashed. One thing that impressed me, because we've talked about this before, is that when you went to help the homeless, Joe, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go help them through a better way. You did a more interactive approach that I learned from you, you learned from me. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because that's part of the essential DNA of Beth-Hark tradition. What was that?
I call it the holistic approach to helping people. It's not just about helping them by giving them clothes or food or shelter. It's about helping them become a whole person. And that holistic approach, you have to have the proper tools. Yes, you have to meet the physical need, whatever it is, but you have to go beyond that to the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual need, because that's what Jesus did. Yes, he helped people with whatever their physical problem was. He even healed the blind and he fed the hungry, but he also helped them become whole. And by whole, I mean productive, fruitful, independent, self-sufficient people. And that became the thrust of my ministry, whether it was at Hark Homes when we were doing it for the homeless, or at Beth-Hark where we were bringing drug addicted off the streets and giving them all kinds of counseling. It was about moving them from brokenness to wholeness.
Now, you have a story about a pencil or a pen, the power that a homeless person can make use of that. Do you remember that? You told that story to me one time, and I can't remember all the details, but that one of the homeless guys told you that he was being picked up something that he could use a lot and his life would grow. And
oh, yes. Tony, what you're talking about, we did daily Bible studies, which became what I call holistic hardware, tools that build lives. And, these homeless people, these men, it was a men's shelter, had to do their homework. They had to take responsibility. If they were going to, get help finding a job or get help finding their own place, they had to first find their inner purpose and inner strength, and taking up that pencil and writing down these principles and memorizing them and making sure that they were being, and this is the word of God, transformed by the renewing of their mind. That's what that ministry is all about.
It had some impact on people, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
Can you have any example?
I have a wonderful example for you. In fact, some of you may have seen this gentleman on the news in a positive way. He is associate chaplain for the NYPD. His name is Robert Rice, and that's what he does now. And he's out there always advocating for gun violence. He's supported at least 800 families in this city who's had to deal with gun violence and how it's affected their family. But this young man, when he was a teenager, when he was a young adult, he was illiterate and he was addicted to crack. And he came to Beth-Hark and he was in there every day. And he knew that that was the safest place for him to be, because if he was out on the street, he would not have been able to change his life. The people there taught him how to read. They brought the values into place. And so now he's able to give back and sow back into our community in such a wonderful way. He is taking care of community in the way he was taken care of.
And I'm so excited, Tony, because the 40th Gala is this Friday, October 24th. I'm one of the honorees, and Robert Rice is one of the honorees too. So I get to stand with someone that I helped to mentor many years ago.
Well, and I wanted to ask you about that. Did you know him from the beginning, or did somebody else deal with him at first?
Yes, no, I was part of the team. And what's important to understand is that,
One person.
yes, it wasn't just an individual. I was running Hark Homes, and we had started Beth-Hark, and so we brought the homeless over there. And then people, Robert Rice was not at Hark Homes, but he came in off the street, and we all worked together. No matter what the individual crisis was that we had to fix, we worked together to fix it.
Now, did you follow him over the years, or did you come back in contact recently?
Oh no, no. Over the years, I became one of his mentors and advised him as he, he had to heal both inner and then professionally. And he was volunteering, doing counseling with parents who had lost children to gun violence. And he was doing such a great job that he went back to school, he got ordained as a chaplain, and now he has a full-time job in the 28th precinct in Harlem, is where he's headquartered as a chaplain in the New York City Police Department.
That's amazing.
Right. Yeah. And that's so. Go ahead.
I just went, that's such a difficult journey. I mean, I just think to myself and said, how could he come from so far back and come forward?
He's just one of many. We have testimony after testimony after testimony of people who have come through that program and their lives have been transformed, but they're giving back. There's another brother Best, and the moment he got himself together in Beth-Hark, he went out and got somebody else. And that person now, not only is he a valued person in Beth-Hark and Bethel, but he ended up marrying the bishop's daughter.
Marrying the bishop's daughter.
And something similar happened to Joe. I mean, his sister married one of the men from Hark as well. And so it's a wonderful testament of lives that can truly be transformed. And Beth-Hark is not only made up of these participants, but like you're asking the question, it's the volunteers. It's people who are giving their free time. Another one of the women who are being honored, she kept coming until COVID, and she was over 90 when that happened. She was 91 years old, still coming and serving and giving her time to these men, and they thought of her as a mother, not only men and women, and a lot of families are joining the line as well. More and more, we're seeing more and more families.
I'm glad you mentioned that example, because this is Dorothea Williams. She is the wife of the former pastor, Ezra Williams, who I partnered with when we co-founded Beth-Hark, and she became, Mother Dorothea, a leading volunteer in the ministry over the years. And what excites me is now I can stand with her on Friday because she's also an honoree.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
How did you come, now, her husband, Bishop Ezra Williams.
Bishop Ezra, yes.
Is notable in Harlem for many ways. One thing he's notable about is that, sadly, many of the churches in Harlem, the people commute. But Ezra Williams, Bishop Williams, emphasized being a church for people living in Harlem.
Yes.
And which also meant that they probably had more troubles, certainly economic and neighborhood challenges. And he was able to do that. But how did you come in contact with him? Did you know him before he came to Harlem?
This is a God orchestrated moment here, because when I was at Harvard Law School, I was head of the Black Christian Fellowship. We had weekly Bible studies, and then I was encouraged to bring the fellowship to do outreach. And so we went to the Boston Commons to do outreach. And on one of those outreaches, I was sharing about my calling to Harlem. Somebody that I didn't even know comes up to me and said, when you go to Harlem, you need to meet, back then he was Reverend Ezra.
That's right.
He said, you need to meet Reverend Ezra Williams. So when I got to Harlem, one of the first churches I went to was Bethel Gospel Assembly. And I sought him out because I was really impressed of his commitment. You talked about his commitment to bring people in Harlem to church, but he was also committed to both foreign missions and home missions. Mm-hmm. And that was his heart. And he talked about it. And that was my heart. And so I went to see him. He became a mentor. And it was when we were praying one day in his office at Bethel Gospel Assembly that God revealed to us that we needed to work together on Beth-Hark.
Did he ever tell you stories about how in order to illustrate what he thought you should do? Because he liked to tell stories.
Yes, he sure did. And Tony, if I had a better memory, I'm sure I could pull
Well,
one
there's
out.
the three hots in a cot.
Why don't you?
What's that story? We want to hear
Well,
it.
I'm going to give you the abbreviated version because I wasn't there. But, you know, he was sharing with Joe that these men needed more than 3 hots and a cot.
Right, yes.
3 meals and a place to sleep. And so a Beth-Hark was designed to now provide them education, provide them a moral value compass. So there was a place for them to live within this former school building, right? They had a place for them to go through courses and develop. So that it wasn't just giving them food and a place to sleep. It was giving them the tools that they needed to live a life. And like I said, we're seeing this with these gentlemen that I've already explained.
And here's my favorite story. Thank you, because now it's triggered. The favorite story that Bishop Ezra told. So James Fenimore Cooper Junior High School. He grew up in Harlem, and he attended that. It was a middle school. It was a middle school. He attended that middle school, and he remembers, because he was getting in trouble, sitting in the principal's office and being reprimanded and scolded. Then you fast forward 30 years, and now at a city auction, Bethel Gospel Assembly was able to take this vacant, dilapidated building and then restore it. And the principal's office that he sat in when he was a student now became the pastor's office. It was his office.
And I've got to add this to the story because it shows his heart. That principal told him that he wouldn't amount to anything, that he would either be in jail or dead. And so it is with a reverse heart that principal had, that he looked at someone like a Robert Rice and said, leave him alone. He wants to come here every day, let him come. He's trying to find himself, and we're going to help him do that. And so he had open arms. It didn't matter what your burden was. And we couldn't do this kind of work without partners. We're also going to be honoring Mount Sinai and Food Bank. And you can't tell a person by what you see on the outside. You look at me today, but I am a food bank story. There was a time as a single mother of three that if I did not have a place like Food Bank, you know, here I was going to Columbia by day, working, taking care of my kids, but we needed that extra to help us through.
Just the fact that you're doing all this thing doesn't mean you have enough money to buy the stuff for the table.
Exactly. And they made me feel like a human. They didn't make me feel like a number. They didn't make me feel like, oh, woe is me, I'm in this situation, right? It was just a loving, wonderful environment to step into. And so I'm very thankful to be able to give back to them as well for their dedication over the 40 years, as well as Mount Sinai being a partner too.
I'm curious, Hunter School of Social Work, Hunter College School of Social Work is just down the street.
Yes.
Do they ever interact with y'all?
Well, I actually don't know. We'd have to ask our executive administrator about that. But I actually went through a program with there recently, and it's a wonderful facility. I'd love the opportunity. And that's why we're here, Tony, because we want people to volunteer. We want people to partner with us because that's going to help it to go further. So donations are always wonderful. Yes, you can donate. But your time and your talent is also something that, you know, we can't ever get enough money for that.
We want this ministry to grow over the next 40 years, and that's why we're doing this celebration now. Celebrate the past, build for the future.
Well, let me put out this plug to graduates of Hunter School of Social Work. I had a young friend in Chinatown who went to, do I dare mention the name, New York University School of Social Work. And they told her, we don't want you doing anything with churches and Christian ministries. So she comes to me, and I talked to the dean, and so they relented. But her conclusion is that she was not in a friendly atmosphere. It was sort of hostile. And she went to Hunter, where they would let her do that.
Yeah.
So if you're a graduate of Hunter's College School of Social Work and you want to help right in the neighborhood of the new building that Hunter School of Social Work has in Harlem, come and we'll put on our website a connection to Beth-Hark, and then come on over and give them a look and talk to them.
Yes.
And you can also just put in a word to the dean at the Hunter School of Social Work, saying that they had a good record before, they need to pick up that again. And maybe they are. But if we get somebody out there beating the drum a little bit, we'll be sure that's the case.
Let's make
Well,
it happen.
I appreciate you making that pitch because, we are at the point where the lines, we have soup kitchen and food pantry, and the lines this year have doubled.
Really?
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
given what's going on in our nation and our city, our community. And so we need all the help, both financially and, as Jackie said, volunteer-wise, that we can get.
And it's a testament to the program that despite the lines doubling and despite the reduction in funds, they keep those doors open and they keep the giving happening. And they're going to continue to do that work. And our mother church, Bethel, has been committed to making Beth-Hark the #1 ministry for the community.
Now, the one thing that's Beth-Hark is that Hark was more focused on the homeless. And then Beth-Hark not only did that, but they also at first looked at people that had drug addiction, substance abuse, and I assume there's still a lot of that.
Yes.
Do y'all have much, does Beth-Hark have much success in getting people off of drug addiction and substance abuse?
I'd say that's been the greatest legacy. That because of its intensive, hands-on, and I'm going to call it a practical/spiritual approach, right? It's not just about meeting people's physical needs with food. It's not just about the mental counseling. It's the power of prayer and really bringing that spiritual resource to the table that brings about the deliverance that's needed.
And I've mainly talked about men, but there's a number of women who've also been in that same situation, who've had drug addiction, homelessness, all of that. And they are now chaplains. They're in the ministry. Their lives have really been transformed. They're wonderful mothers and fathers. It's beautiful.
Well, I can't help but asking, because we have a mayor's race, is if you were mayor, how would you change New York?
I take, this is based on my experience over the years working in Harlem, a community-based approach. I have a perspective on politics that it's important that it be faith-driven. Unfortunately, we have a lot of people, they let their politics drive their faith. I let my faith drive my politics. And I teach some principles called the 7 C's, and one of them is called create strategic collaborative governance. And that's about public-private partnerships. We have to bring government more aligned with what's happening at the grassroots in the community. Beth-Hark is an example. We have to have those resources and the knowledge that government has to align with those who are at the grassroots in order to make a difference where it counts the most.
Now, Beth-Hark would deal with how many people a year on the average, do you think?
Well, it's thousands that come through. I don't have an exact number, but it's definitely multiple thousands.
Right, at least
of
over
people.
time.
Yeah.
And do they stay in Harlem or do they go all over?
So it started as a Harlem ministry, but since COVID, we found that people are coming from other boroughs. They've heard about us and what we do. And the community is not just African American, right? You've got Asian, you've got white, you've got Hispanic. It's just the needs are great, and they're looking for places where they can feel safe and be able. And it's not all cookies and cream. It's they're real challenges, but they're willing to walk with people through their challenges.
And Bishop Williams, Ezra Williams, had a vision for his ministry in Harlem, a hospital in Harlem, right? A spiritual hospital. So whatever your sickness, disease, illness was, and not physically, but we're talking about, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, whatever it was, you can have it met at Bethel and at Beth-Hark.
Now, I know in Harlem and even at Bethel, there are quite a few Africans. There's African immigrants, and I would think that that COVID and the current situation is particularly hard for them. And do they some of them come to Beth-Hark, or are they going to an African church or something like that?
The amazing thing, the Living Waters Church is it meets at Bethel every Sunday.
Our sister church.
Because there's a new sanctuary where the regular Bethel church and then Living Waters meets it's a French-speaking church. Its pastor is from Burkina Faso in Africa, and that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's a church where the largest segment of former Muslims who have converted to Christianity attend that church.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. So there's a large African community in Harlem. There's a large West African community, and no, they're coming. They're coming for the food, because as a people group, they're very community involved. So they still have a strong family center, and so once they find something that works, they support it.
So we've gone from Harlem to Africa and back. Beth-Hark celebration this Friday.
Yeah.
I've had on with us Joseph and Jacquie Holland, who are promoting and working, and both through publications and through their involvement on the board at Beth-Hark. I'm Tony Carnes, your host for A Journey Through NYC Religions Television. Bye-bye.